Starting in machine embroidery can be a bit of a daunting and confusing task. You might be wondering, where do I start? What all do I need to know? And how can I learn it all quickly? Well, thankfully, our new Easy to Follow Embroidery Legacy Beginner series is going to answer all these questions and more for you to help you get past the learning curve and well on your way to mastering this beautiful art. Hi, I'm John Deere, the world's most awarded embroidery digitizer and owner of Embroidery Legacy. My family's been in the embroidery industry since the 1950s, and with over 35 years of experience under my belt, I've taught thousands of new embroiderers like you the ropes. In these Embroidery Beginners videos, I'm going to walk you through some of the essential embroidery principles and share some of our family's time-tested tips, tricks, and secrets, from hooping to thread types and so much more. If you follow along with these videos, you'll be embroidering like a pro in no time. Hi everyone, in this installment of our Embroidery Beginner series, I'm going to explain all the differences between embroidery file formats. Now I'm sure when you first got into this, or if you are brand new, it seemed a little overwhelming with all of the different extensions available for all of the different machine brands. Now I'm going to break it down into three categories, and to do the first one I'm going to go back in time to when I first started punching or digitizing designs. When I started 37 years ago, we were actually doing mechanical stitching, one stitching at a time, and when software did become available, there were really only two file formats in the industry that we used, and those were DST and EXP, and those are what I like to call expanded file formats. Now, I do have a little sample here of something that I digitized about 26 years ago, and it is a very realistic looking wolf, but every single stitch in this design was done manually using a running stitch. Now, because it is an expanded file format, you can't really resize this design, because when you make it twice as large, a running stitch always stays a running stitch and it will look like a bald wolf. Now, the expanded and the DST files, because they only recognize the X and Y movement of the frame, and all they see is commands like color changes and jumps, which register trims, it is really a file that is kind of like it's set in stone. If you have a problem with, let's say, a file that you bring into your machine, and you notice that the pattern has changed slightly, you know, the motif is not the way it looked in the picture that you saw online, that's probably because in translation, when they converted it to that file format, something funny happened and the software has changed the properties of it. Now, if you bring in the EXP or DXT file, then what's going to happen is it's going to bring in the motif exactly like you saw it, because all it sees is stitches. So I do like to save these two files in case you have any problems, although they're definitely not the easiest ones to manipulate. Now, there are also smaller than all of the other file formats that you'll find as far as machine files. The reason why is they don't retain colors. If you brought this into your machine in a DST or EXP file, it would actually revert to the colors of the machine. You wouldn't see browns, you'd have a green, purple, and yellow wolf, and the colors wouldn't match up. Now that's why the machine file formats are generally more popular with home embroiderers, because those are file formats that have been converted to specific machine types, and it does hold some of those properties in place, like color information. So it makes it a lot easier for you to actually go in and choose the colors of your design, because you're seeing something represented on the screen from the original colors that were used. Now, the one issue with actual machine file formats, because when you convert your original design, which is the native file format, to a machine file format, it basically has to go through multiple software programs potentially to get good results. Because we have anything from VIP to HUS, JEF, SHV, the list goes on and on within all of the conversions, and that's where generally the problems happen. Now, I always get the question over and over again, how much can you resize a design? And in reality, if you bring in a machine file format, into a software program, it has to actually convert it to objects and then try to make the necessary changes when it resizes so that you get half-decent results. And for that reason, you're actually limited a little bit based on size. Maybe 10, 20, 30% at the most, up or down. And what you also have to realize is if you understand the theory of stitches, you know that there's minimums and maximums for all three stitch types, and you will sometimes break those when you actually increase or decrease the design, and that's why you get stitch-intensive embroidery or embroidery that just doesn't look that good. Now, things did evolve. I showed you the wolf first, but here is a lion, and as our software got more advanced, we started to use more object-based embroidery, which allowed us to actually create really detailed blending and not just use a running stitch. Now, the last one is the native file format, and that will vary on what software you use to actually digitize the design on. So depending on the software you own, it has one file format that is native to the program. When I digitize now, it's very different than when I was, 17 or 18 years old. I did everything one stitch at a time. Now I'm creating designs that look like this, and they're very detailed, but they're not using really any manual inputs, no running stitches, because if I resize the design, it's going to be affected. Now, if you look at this design, I blew it up actually to this size. This is the original size and this is the increased size. And if you look at the results or compare the two, actually they're just as beautiful. I almost think the one that was resized actually looks better. So that is the beauty of having a native file format in a really great software program, is it sees the original objects and it increases the overall properties and actually assists in the quality of designs. So that gives you a little bit of an overall view of what an actual stitch file is, what a machine file is, and also what a native file is in your software programs. Thanks for watching. If you want to make your embroidery life easier, be sure to hit the subscribe button below to be notified of new tips and tricks videos, giveaways, and more. Plus, if you want to try stitching out some of our embroidery designs, click the link in the description below to learn how to download your free Embroidery Legacy design kit today.